Our oceans, the basis of life on Earth, a source of oxygen, opportunity, and endless inspiration. Or more accurately, our oceans, the world's largest dumping ground, the main culprit being the plastic that is present everywhere in our lives, from the grocery bags to the food delivery and the water bottles. At current growth rates, by 2050, there'll be 12 billion tons of plastic laying in our natural environments and landfills, and more plastic than fish in the ocean. Can you imagine this? Close your eyes and try. The image in your mind is probably not half as devastating as the reality is. Not in 2050, but right now, today. In the 1 minute that I've begun my talk, one garbage truck, or 15 tons worth of plastic, would have entered our ocean. Over a span of 1 year, this amounts to 8 million tons making its way to our waters, being swept away by ocean currents and staying there. As a result, our precious marine life is suffering. In that same year, 1 million seabirds, 100,000 sea mammals, 1,000 sea turtles, and countless more million fish will die because of the plastic in our ocean. Just a couple of months ago, a pregnant whale washed up on the beaches of Sardinia right here in Italy. Her stomach was full of 48 pounds worth of things like garbage bags, fishing nets, and even a full packet of liquid detergent. Things that are present everywhere in our lives. The plastic pollution problem is real, devastating, and we must do something about it if we're going to protect the marine life we know and love. Whether or not you've seen these pictures on the news or on your social media feeds, or whether you live near or far from the ocean, we're all suffering from the impacts of plastic pollution. These include the toxic chemicals in our water and the microplastics that have worked their way up the food chain and onto our plates. Not just that, consider the huge economical consequences. If the threat to our marine life weren't enough to shock you, then I'm sure the threat to our economies will. Only 5% of the value of plastic packaging material remains in our economy after one very short use. According to the European Commission's estimates, the 95% of wasted value amounts to 105 billion euros in the EU every year alone. More than that, according to a study published in the Marine Pollution Bulletin, plastic pollution costs our global economies 2.2 trillion euros every year. No government owns or cares about this plastic that has traveled far away into our ungoverned ocean territory, yet every single person is negatively affected. This is a prime example of the need for an urgent global response. We need to realize our shared responsibility and work together to tackle the problem. So when will we draw the line? When our plastic-laden beaches become less Instagram-worthy, or our fishing nets bring out nothing but old plastic? The effects of our callous actions can be seen everywhere around us, and we won't be escaping it with inaction. Today marks the 27th year of World Oceans Day, and the 5th time it's had a focus on beating plastic pollution. Happy World Oceans Day, everybody. The idea for this day originated at the 1992 Earth Summit, before the Ocean Project spearheaded the initiative and brought it to life in 2002. Since then, it's grown from a handful of events in a couple of countries to over 1,500 events in 140 countries, with a social media reach of several billion. Along that line, the Ocean Project established the World Oceans Day Youth Advisory Council, which was born out of their vision for World Oceans Day to develop into a youth-led movement of celebration and action. I am one of these 24 passionate youth representatives from 20 countries around the world, all united by our desire to protect the ocean. Throughout the year, we work with the amazing people at the Ocean Project to shape World Oceans Day with our unique perspectives, projects, and ideas. We've realized that plastic pollution is a problem that needs solutions and a shift in our ways right now. While it's great to see some governments pledging to ban some plastics by times like 2021 and 2030, we're not about to sit back and wait for that change to happen, but rather, we'll catalyze and create it now. That's exactly why we've risen to the challenge of getting our communities to beat plastic pollution together. My love for the ocean began a few years ago. I was 14 years old during a school trip to a coral reef nursery on the beautiful west coast of Malaysia. An inspiring marine biologist gave us a passionate speech about how it was up to me and my peers to save the ocean, and then showed us around an area where his team were growing coral. As someone who had been far too scared to go anywhere near a coral reef before, I was in awe at how diverse, vulnerable, and beautiful this little nursery habitat was. It was a microcosm of an untouched reef, free from the heat stress, pollution, and overfishing that is the reality for our ocean today. After that inspiring experience, I ran down to the beach for some free time with my friends, and what greeted us was shocking. It was heartbreaking to see the coast littered with things like dead coral, mangled flip-flops, styrofoam bead, and plastic bottles. The difference to the perfect little ecosystem I had just witnessed couldn't have been larger, and it was devastating to see the first-hand impacts of plastic pollution and coral destruction on our environment. It was the very first time I felt scared for what the future of our ocean was going to be, and the first time I realized the urgency for us to step up and protect it. So I picked up all the plastic that I could and decided that from then on, I would dedicate all my time to fighting for the ocean. When I got back to school, my amazing geography teachers were kind enough to answer my endless questions and worries about the coral reefs. Their eagerness to help and their belief they had in my ability to make a difference helped get my ocean advocacy journey off to an exciting start. From urging friends to go strawless and bag-free, to gradually ridding my whole town of unsustainable single-use plastic, and from making an educational booklet for local schools, to speaking in a room full of primary school kids dressed in a Dory costume, the past few years have been pretty interesting, and the Dory costume made it slightly embarrassing. But hey, whatever it takes to get the message across, right? I learned a few crucial things about plastic along the way, including the fact that plastic is not the enemy as much as our single-use mindset is. Plastic has unparalleled weight, versatility, and affordability. While alternatives like stainless steel bottles, glass jars, and tote bags seem like an obvious solution to the problem, they often necessitate more water to produce and more fuel to transport due to their weight. To truly solve plastic pollution will be to completely change our relationship and habits with single-use plastic. By refusing unnecessary single-use plastic, we send a clear message to producers with our demands, and will spur change down the supply chain as well. Together, we are a movement that cannot be ignored. This year for World Oceans Day, the Youth Advisory Council have been busy planning a range of events and creating resources to best raise awareness in communities and classrooms across the world. We're trying to involve youth in the solution and getting them to take action. We are but a few council members fighting for our ocean within an entire generation of unstoppable youth desperate to build a viable tomorrow. Our desire for a safe, livable future definitely does not stop at plastic-free seas. I'm sure most of you will agree with me that this is a very tumultuous time for our world. You might think I'm talking about Brexit or Trump, as the headlines seem to suggest, but I'm talking about the climate and biodiversity crisis that threatens our survival. As we continue living our day-to-day lives, 1 million species are at risk of extinction, which will directly impact our food security, water security, social stability, and health. The latest report from the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change warned that we have until 2030 to keep global warming below a maximum of 1.5 degrees to keep the effects from being too extreme. Meanwhile, the temperatures and emissions are still on an uptrend, and according to the Climate Action Tracker, a mere 7 out of 179 countries that ratified the Paris Agreement are on track to meet their 2-degree warming limits. A temperature rise of 2 degrees will obliterate 99% of our coral reefs and cause sea levels to rise up to 50 centimeters, which would radically harm the lives of millions living on coastlines, as well as our marine ecosystems. More extreme weather and accelerated ocean acidification will follow, contributing to 37% of our population experiencing severe heat waves once every 5 years, crop yields dropping 7%, and global fishery catches declining by 3 million tons. It is hard to even imagine what a horror our world will be like, but we are well on our way to making it a reality. At the rate we're going, catastrophic climate change is guaranteed, and our future looks frighteningly uncertain. This fate will not change unless we immediately reinvent our system and change our ways. All our lives, we've been told to follow the traditional route, focus in school, and leave it to the adults until we're old enough to earn our seat at the table. But the youth of today have demonstrated time and time again with their sheer resilience and power that we are no longer okay with that. Take the recent youth climate strikes as an example. I'm also a member of the UK Student Climate Network. UKSCN are an amazing group of students behind the UK Youth Strikes for Climate. Within a matter of 2 months, they were able to mobilize a movement of 50,000 students, which was part of a worldwide movement of well over 1.5 million youth. They did this all while juggling exams, homework, and everything else as teenagers have to worry about. It is sad that it has come down to this in order for politicians to wake up and take some action, but also inspiring to know that if we keep at it, we will bring about the change that we need. Us youth may not have lived as long as the people in power, but we will suffer with the consequences, and we deserve to be heard. Here in Italy, on the 15th of March 2019, there were over 200,000 students striking, and several thousand here in Vicenza alone. You must understand why the youth are so fed up with this inaction. To us, without any political agenda in mind, the solution seems simple. We need to stop greenhouse emissions in their tracks and implement something like a Green New Deal that will prioritize renewable solutions, people, and our planet. Yet there is little being done while horrible climate injustices continue to plague our most vulnerable communities. This problem is bigger than just saving the planet and saving our animals. It is also to do with our very survival. And we refuse to sit back while it's tossed about like child's play. To keep our beautiful world alive for the sake of my generation and the many to follow, as we chant during our strikes, what we need is system change, not climate change. These climate strikes may have made noise and sparked some action, and our plastic campaigns may have begun to make some waves against plastic pollution. But this is just the beginning. It is now or never for our future, and you best bet that we won't back down until we're sure of a safer, just, and sustainable world ahead. In fact, it shouldn't be just us youth fighting for the change. We all call this planet home. We will all face these problems, and the responsibility to solve them falls on every one of us. Every single person has an impact on the future of our climate, ocean, and livelihood. So what are we going to do about it? Whether you start by refusing plastic bags, decarbonizing your commute to work, or cutting meat out of your Monday, there is no initial action too big or too small, and there's definitely no better day to start than today, on World Oceans Day. Together we can, together we will, and I'm so excited to see the future we'll shape together. Thank you.